Good evening, Grinders. Hey, it's Monday, Showdown Live here on Rotogrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, Blender HD. You know me. Play whoever you want. And join with me on this Monday, where we flip every single week. We get cards. Now we get Chief Justice, the man of the hour. Everyone loves you. Whenever I'm on shows with you, the chief is here. The chief is here. All hail the chief. And we got Showdown. We got inactives in. We got Bears running backs that I don't know if it matters who. I don't know if it matters, but that seems to be the number one question. On this Showdown slate, you were saying before the show that you're always amazed at the ownership. Do you see anything that stands out here where the ownership tends to be projected to be a little too high or too low?
Yeah, man. I think for me, I feel like it's projected too high on all the Bears running backs, or most of them anyway. When I look at this ownership on DraftKings and I see, Ryan Nall projected at 31%, that gets me excited. When I see Lamar Miller projected at 31%, that gets me excited. Now, look, Lamar Miller's $200. I don't mind a $200 guy at 31%. I mean, to me that makes more sense. I gladly accept 6 or 7 points from a $200 player. But Ryan Nall, we've got him projected at 3.87 points, and he's projected at 31% ownership. I'm really excited about that. I look at the kickers, and they're under that, and they're projected for more points. And I don't lean only on projections for everything, obviously, but for me, that's one of the main things that stood out to me on this slate. These running backs are projected a lot higher ownership than I thought, when we have a really shaky idea of how the snaps are going to be distributed.
Well, I think that's people just guessing. I mean, right? I mean, we have the inactives out. So Vikings, nothing out of the ordinary. Irv Smith is out. Okay, we got it. Tajay Sharp he's not playing, but he's like the sixth wide receiver, so it don't matter about that. The Bears, I mean, everyone that has running back designation for the Bears is active. So we got Nall, we got Artavis Pierce, we got Lamar Miller off the practice squad, and obviously we have Cordell Patterson that sometimes he's used it kind of like pseudo running back and jet sweeps, and they'll move him around and such, play on third downs. I mean, he will get some goal line carries sometimes. So the point that I was making before the show about these running backs, I was talking to you, Chief. It's like, I'm someone that has a David Montgomery problem, okay? Like, but since Tariq Cohen has been out, I'm like, well, David Montgomery's going to get like 90% of the work. He's going to get 20
And
plus
he
touches,
was.
right? He's going to be under 6K. Like, how
Right.
do I not play him? And then I play him and he gets 8 points. So, like, if 20
Yeah.
20 plus
Every
touches,
week.
right, if he gets 8 points, so now they're splitting 8 points amongst like 3 or 4 guys, uh, are we overvaluing, like, who's going to get most of the, like, if, let's say, for instance, Chief, I know you're nodding your head. You agree with me. If you pick one that gets 20 plus touches, like let's say you pick right, and it's Null. Does that mean he's going to get 15 points even? No. Let's say you pick right and it's Cordell Patterson. Does that mean he gets 15 points? Let's say you pick Artavis Pierce. At least on the cheaper guys, at least, okay, now Lamar Miller could put up 7 points at 200. Okay, maybe he's optimal. Okay. But
Right.
Null at his
Right.
price, I mean, even that, I'm just using the example of, even if you get it right, they still have to produce. Even if one guy gets 80% of the work, we see David Montgomery do that and get nothing. So like now, and then if they're gonna split, let's say, for instance, Chief, that we have Lamar Miller getting 10 carries, 10 touches. We have Cordell Patterson getting 8 touches. Artavis Pierce gets 5. Nall gets 8. Like, it's possible that none of them get the highest 4 points amongst them all, and none of them are optimal. So are you with me that I'm less enthralled, especially with, it seems like the field wants to play one of these guys at least, and they're making their choices, and it's sucking up a lot of ownership. Like, I'm more inclined to just I'm playing because I'm doing a show. I'm playing like 8 to 10 lineups. Like, I may not have a Bears running back in any of them.
Yeah, I think on DraftKings, especially, here's what I think. And you probably already know. Everybody knows my strategy. I'm picking one and I'm rolling with one. I'm not playing the guessing game of is it Null, is it Miller, is it this one. If I feel really good about one, I'm going to take one. Here's the one I do feel best about, even though he's just coming up off the practice squad. It's got to be Lamar Miller. This just smells like David Montgomery all over again. Here's why I say that. David Montgomery was there, these guys were there, and David Montgomery still got all the work. So I don't see how Ryan Nall and Artavis Pierce are suddenly going to get 80% of the work. I think this is Lamar Miller's job. He's got the name value, but I also think, he's probably the better back, even though he's coming off this injury. I think it's Lamar Miller's job. I'm more willing to take all these shares and roll it into just Lamar Miller at 200 than to play the guessing game with Ryan Nall and Artavis Pierce, who weren't even playing anyway. I just take the $200 guy and just X those other two out, and now I've just saved myself, 35% ownership on two guys I just don't even have to play. And I can just play 30% Lamar Miller if I want. Me personally, I'm just going to be all over this passing game. That's just what I'm going to do. I'm loading up on the Bears passing game and probably some Lamar Miller. I'm not playing Ryan Nall and Artavis Pierce. It's not happening.
Okay. Well, the other question on the other side of the game, Dalvin Cook, he's 13-6 on DraftKings.
Great.
To captain him, he's going to be over 20K. According to our projections.
Definitely not captain.
Okay, well let's get to it. Okay, well, I'm setting the platter up for you, Chief. I'm putting it on a plate. I'm preparing the meal. Let me prepare the meal. Dalvin Cook projects for our projections as well as the Blitz projections as he is the highest raw projection by more than 8 points over any other player. That includes the quarterbacks, includes Robinson, Thielen, Jefferson, all those guys. He's obviously going to be the most owned. He's projected to have the most amount of touches. The Vikings, if they're up especially, they're going to just run the ball as much as they can. Can you make a case? I would think that I ran 300 lineups. Okay, this is what I do before Showdown. I run 300 lineups, and I want to run as many Dalvin Cook captain lineups as I can and see what the likelihood of them being duplicated. So this is for large field stuff. Small field stuff, don't worry about it as much. But I ran 300 lineups. I couldn't find a lineup with Dalvin Cook a captain that wasn't going to be duplicated more than 15 times. Like unless you're pairing him with you're playing CJ Ham and Conk, you're leaving 13,000 on the table. I mean, there are some lineups that are just really, really low probability that you could do it with. You're playing all four of their running back, right? You're playing Abdullah and Ham. Yeah, that'll be unique. It also the likelihood of it being the top 6 scores is so
just light that lineup on fire immediately.
Right. It's just so low probability. But with him being the highest raw projected points scorer by 8 points, it makes sense that if you're playing cash games or something, that Cook should be in your captain. But if you're not playing him in captain, his raw points matter. So I take a look. If Dalvin Cook has a bad game and has 12 points, 12 points may still you may still need his 12 raw points in your flex spot. So Chief, can you make a case on fading Cook? I mean, I made the case that you could fade him in captain, but I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are here.
Yeah, no. Let's be very clear. I'm not fading Dalvin Cook in any stretch of the imagination. He's probably a guy I would have 100%, but I will have 0% in the captain. Absolutely none. I don't think he ends up being the highest scorer on the slate today. I think he has a normal game, which I would say around 15 points. That's kind of my idea of where he'll be. Like I said, I'm loading up on this Bears passing game. That's where I'm staking my flag. Quite frankly, I'm going mostly Nick Foles at captain. I think he's going to shred this Minnesota defense. Listen, the Slate IQ tells me I'm probably about right on this. I'm going Nick Foles. I'm loading up on Allen Robinson. I'll have plenty of Cook, but zero in the captain.
Well, you're
Zero.
not agreeing with Slate IQ then. You're not. You're actually going the other direction in Slate IQ. You're right on the attack, but wrong on the position. So Eric Bimefor does a premium article called Slate IQ for Showdown contest. If you'd get it if you're a premium member. So you go there, rotogrinders.com/premium. Go sign up, and you get access to all the Showdown Slate IQs and the main Slate stuff. But according to Slate IQ, which analyzes all very similar slates to this, and the construction that stands to gain more than the field. So really, you're looking at not like what's the most probable, but what's the most probable compared to what other people are doing. Is a 4-2 construction with the winner. So the winning team 4 players, losing team 2 players. Obviously, it's a 3-point spread in this game, so that doesn't necessarily mean the favored team, right? It doesn't mean Vikings 4, Bears 2. If the Bears win this game, this would mean Bears 4, Vikings 2. So just put that into perspective. And then in the captain usage, the highest probability as well as the highest leverage spot is wide receiver 1. Quarterback 1 is actually one of the lowest. It's 13%, but it's being rostered at a 27% rate. So that's negative leverage. Wide receiver 1 has the most positive leverage. Tight end 1. So we're talking about like Rudolph or Graham. Wide receiver 3, which is we're talking about Anthony Miller, I guess, right? Or even Chad Beebe.
I would say Anthony Miller because Mooney's definitely number 2.
Right.
Let's go Anthony Miller.
And then surprisingly enough, DST 1. Vikings or Bears defense. A lot of times we all hate these defense captain type of slates, but if this is going to be a low scoring slate, DST could be the winner. So I'm just going by Slate IQ. I'm not a big fan of playing DST in the captain, but it does tend to agree with you at least that a wide receiver 1 in captain is the highest probability as well as being the highest leverage. So Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. The question comes in, Chief, is that obviously in an Allen Robinson captain lineup, you could play A-Rob, you could play Foles, and you could play Cook. Like, they're not negatively correlated. They're positively correlated. Cook's running the ball, running 2 touchdowns in. Foles is catching up, throwing it to A-Rob. A-Rob has 120 yards and a touchdown, and that's great. But how do you do it the other way? So, for instance, if you're going to play Thielen or Jefferson in the wide receiver 1 slot, you're more likely to correlate that with Cousins, but then you can't have Cook in that lineup. So, is this the type of slate? I'm going to theorize, Chief, that especially if it's a lower scoring game, that it's quite possible, especially the way that the Vikings play, that Thielen or Jefferson could be in the captain and Cousins not in the flex. Because Cousins could throw 22 times, and he throws 1 touchdown to Jefferson. Jefferson gets the 100-yard bonus on 5 catches, right? 5 for 100 and a touchdown. So we're talking about what? 15, 18, 24 points. Dalvin Cook has 2 rushing touchdowns and 80 yards or something, and he has like 20 points. It's like, well, and then Cousins is still sitting there with like 12, 13. He threw for 240 yards and 1 touchdown.
Or he could pull Alex Smith and throw for 380 yards and no touchdown.
Yeah, but if he throws for no touchdowns, that means wide receiver 1 is likely not going to be the captain.
No.
So he has to. Cousins has to throw for 1 for Thielen or Jefferson to really get there. But a lot of people are going to pair up that with Cousins, and to play those wide receivers and Cousins and Cook, like you have to play Lamar Miller, and still you have to play like another $800 guy. Like, yes, you can do it, but those lineups, if you make them that way, are going to be absurdly duplicated in that sense because your options are just so limited down on the cheap range. So do you think it's crazy for me to play a Vikings wide receiver captain without Cousins? Would you rather play him with Cousins for the correlation or with Cook just for the raw points?
I think I'd still rather play him with Cook. I personally don't think Kirk Cousins is going to get off this game. I don't see it. The Bears defense overall has been fairly good. I think they're going to get some quarterback pressure. We know this team is going to try to establish the run first. I think this may set, Cousins behind the chains a little bit in certain situations. And this is just me now putting the real spin on the game. Obviously, I can't predict the game, but Kirk Cousins, I don't trust him in this matchup, to be honest with you.
Do you believe into the narrative he's 0-8 on Monday Night Football?
I'm not even worried about the narrative. I believe that Kirk Cousins is not as good as we think he is consistently. He's a very inconsistent quarterback. And so I think when he's got to face a defense like this, I just don't see how he gets there. I mean, honestly, I don't think Kirk Cousins throws for more than 220 tonight.
Well, that's his prop. Way to go! That's literally.
Guess what? I didn't look at his prop, but I really haven't. I don't think he throws for more than 220. And if that's the case, like I said, if he goes 220 and 1 touchdown, then I may not need him to win, because I feel like Foles is going to shred this defense. And guess what? I don't like Nick Foles either. I don't think Nick Foles is like some great quarterback, but I think Foles is going to have his way tonight in this particular matchup, along with Allen Robinson and probably some Darnell Mooney as well. So I like this spot for the passing game of Chicago. I do still like Lamar Miller. And then I'm just going to play Dalvin Cook because we know he's getting 20 touches and he's probably getting 5 targets. And he's essentially probably going to outscore most of these receivers unless Justin Jefferson burns one down the seam, which he very well could. It's definitely possible. But that's kind of the approach I'm going to take.
Right. We see on DK Sportsbook, the prop for Kirk Cousins is 222. The prop for Nick Foles is 270. Right. And then we have as far as touchdown scorer, Dalvin Cook is currently minus 240 to score, which is that's like 70% to score. Thielen is plus 115. A-Rob is plus 130. Graham is plus 165. Jefferson plus 190. And then the running backs on DK Sportsbook, they pretty much gave all plus 200. Right? Null and Miller, because they don't know. They don't want to give up edge by they can't predict which one it's going to be, but with these touchdown props on these running backs, that's why I said I may not make a lineup with the Bears running back on it, because I don't know. I think I'd rather play Patterson if anything. So I think Patterson could get there in multiple ways, right? Patterson could get there with a receiving touchdown, with a rushing touchdown, hell, with a return touchdown also. So and he's 5,200. So comparing him to Null, it just seems like you could take the risk on the Chicago running backs, or they're going to keep Patterson involved. They're going to play him pretty much the same way they have, and he has more of a chance to break a big play on one of those types of gadget plays that they do than Null getting 2 yards up the middle.
Yeah, and I mean, and look. Patterson does have some kick return capability. I mean, if he takes one to the house, I mean, he's pretty much probably going to be close to optimal if he does anything else. So I totally get that. I don't have Patterson in my main lineup, obviously, but I like the Patterson call. It's not something I didn't think about, but he's definitely, as you spoke about, he just has more ways to get it done. It's just the bottom line. He's like Tyreek Hill. But they just don't throw him the ball as much. If Tyreek Hill, if he played in Kansas City, he would be, a bigger Tyreek Hill that's a little bit slower. That's pretty much what he would be.
Well, let's talk about another injury situation that could affect this game. Irv Smith is out.
Great.
What?
I said great. I was hoping we would get to this because this is going to parlay into our ownership discussion that we talked about leading into the show. Okay, I held that for this very moment.
Can I set it on a platter? Can I set it on a platter for you?
You can.
Okay, I'm going to set it on a platter. Okay, so Irv Smith Jr. is out. The third tight end on the Vikings is Tyler Conklin. He's pretty much just a blocking tight end. Kyle Rudolph is there, and Kyle Rudolph is technically tight end 1. Irv Smith is tight end 2, but Irv Smith gets more targets. Irv Smith, even in games where he's healthy, gets 3 or 4 targets. So taking Irv Smith out and putting Conklin in, what are you gaining? I think it's more likely that they play with like BB or Olabisi Johnson in 3 wide receiver sets than have like Rudolph and Conklin out there together. And we may see Conklin be used in running situations and Rudolph not even in the game. Like they may just run with that and then play BB or Olabisi as a third wide receiver. It gives them the run blocking that they need. So I think, I mean, I haven't looked at ownership on what's going on here, but I mean,
Oh, I have.
okay, so okay, so what's the problem, Chief?
Listen, so here's the deal. We've got Kyle Rudolph in terms of ownership right now on DraftKings projected at 15.6%.
That doesn't sound that high.
No. Here's my argument. We've got Kyle Rudolph projected at 15.6%, who, in my opinion, I think he has pretty good touchdown equity in this game if they land on the 5 or something. And, you know, Dalvin Cook just can't get into the end zone. Kirk Cousins has shown an act to just throw it to Rudolph, you know, at the back of the pile, and he gets his 6 points plus his 30 yards, and then boom, he's at about 10 to 12 points. My argument is this. Kyle Rudolph is projected at 15%, and we've got Ryan Nall projected at 31 at 6.2K. So, and they're projected in our projections. Ryan Nall is projected at 3.87 points, and Kyle Rudolph is projected at 6.97 points. There's a 15% gap for a more expensive player, which has a half of the projections. That makes much sense to me. I think Kyle Rudolph is a good play here for very low ownership compared to other guys in this game and has pretty good touchdown equity. I'm not sure if you said, you know, what Rudolph's touchdown prop was. I would bet it's plus 300 right now if I had to take a guess right off the top of my head. I promise I have not looked at these
Okay,
these odds.
even better, Chief. Plus 220.
I mean, you see what I'm saying?
His touchdown.
And what was Ryan Nall's
Chief.
to score?
Okay, Ryan Nall is plus 210, but put this into perspective. Kyle Rudolph is plus 220. Both Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney are both 220. Right? So, like, I mean, and Kyle Rudolph is 3,400, and all these other guys are 3,000 more expensive.
Yeah. That doesn't make much sense. So Kyle Rudolph is the guy that stood out to me when I started trying to look at builds and how I wanted to construct. Quite frankly, he was the first guy in at the flex at 3,400. I mean, it just makes tons of sense to me for a team that may have to methodically move the ball down the field. Let's say they don't get the explosive plays. What is Kirk Cousins going to do? Nickel and dime it down the field, a run here or there. They go with some hard play action. Rudolph's running, you know, an option route. He turns around the sticks, catches a 10-yard first down pass. They run the same thing again. They get to the end zone. They can't punch it in. And then Kyle Rudolph's running on a shallow cross, and then boom, he's wide open. They throw it to him. That's his 6 points. He ends the day with 10 to 12. He's optimal. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying this is what it looks like when he gets 10 to 12 points. It's situations just like this. So Kyle Rudolph is at the top of my list in terms of value today.
How about let's take a look at the kickers and the defenses, because we always have to talk about them.
Yes.
Now, whenever you roster, I always say this on Showdown shows, the kickers and the defenses have more limited upside than skill position players. So we have the Bears defense, 3,200, Vikings defense, 3,000. We got the kickers, Bailey at 4,000, Santos at 3,800. So whenever considering those kickers and defenses, I look below them to go, what players can beat the kickers and defenses? So we got Madison there, who will see work behind Dalvin Cook. So he will get touches. We got Pierce, Johnson, Ryan Ridley, the wide receiver 4 for the Bears, BB, Cole Kmet, who they use on the field a lot more because Graham is, you know, old and he doesn't play as many snaps as he used to. Conklin, CJ Ham, the fullback, Amir Abdullah, who could see maybe 2 or 3 snaps. If they're behind, they play him maybe more. Demetrius Harris, which is the third tight end for the Bears, and then Lamar Miller. Do you think with the wet people are going to ask about the weather with the kicking game because they're playing in Chicago? Do you think that the kickers and defenses end up more optimal than one of these players below them outscore? Because one of these players below the kickers and defenses score like double digits, 10. Like most likely, a kicker or a defense is not going to end up being in the optimal for a large field tournament.
Yeah, I don't feel like defense is gonna outscore it. I mean, because that in my opinion, we're leaning on a defensive touchdown for that to happen in a very low scoring game on at least one side. So and so you've got to bank on one interception, probably a fumble recovery, and either a fumble recovery for a touchdown or an interception for a touchdown, or if you're playing Cordero Patterson, you're hoping he takes one to the house, uh, which you could get possibly. But in my opinion, I don't feel like the defenses are as optimal as the kicking game. I feel like the kicking game is more optimal than the defense.
Well, I'm playing a lot of the Vikings defense because, you know what I like doing with the defense? You play the quarterback against the defense. Nick Foles pick six, and then he gets the ball back and chucks the ball. I mean, like, to me, that makes the most sense because people are going to be rostering Foles. They're going to be watching A-Rob. They're going to be playing Cook. And then they're going to try to choose, like, a Vikings guy. And I'm like, dude, Foles, I mean, look, Cousins could do it also. You could play, maybe both defenses have a pick six this game. And it's 42 degrees out. These quarterbacks are not the sharpest of tools. The only problem with the Bears defense is that the Vikings just usually don't throw the ball that much. But Foles could throw the ball 40 times this game, especially if they're behind. David Montgomery's not much of a running back, but they really have no running backs now. So I think I could play four. Like, listen to this. You could play four Bears, Cook, and the Vikings defense, and that could be optimal.
It's possible. That's not the approach I'm taking. But look, man, I in this particular slate where I feel like the Bears may have to throw because their running game might not be as good, and the Vikings are going to run because that's their MO. I can totally see defense being a big thing. I still trust the kickers more than the defense.
I mean, I always trust the kickers more than defenses because it's like, okay, right? Because these games stall, right? It's 27-yard line. It's okay, here's a 40-yard field goal. That's 4 points. You got the extra points if they do score. The defense is really just rely on, like, turnovers and stuff like that. But, I mean, I get it. Just that.
Listen, here's what I will say. Because I've been building, and I'm going Foles at captain. Listen, my favorite lineup right now has about $3,000 on the table. And that's my path to victory. I'm just going to leave massive money on the table. It's got everything in it.
Even while you're playing Cook, you have that much money on the table?
Yes.
It sounds like you're playing Lamar Miller.
I'm absolutely playing Lamar Miller, and I have $3,500 left on the table, and I love it. I think this is the road to victory, and it's got everything in it that we talked about. Every single thing except your defense. Other than that, Foles at captain, $3,500 left on the table. I do have some Lamar Miller. I think it can be done tonight, and I'm pretty sure it would be unique. I'm almost 100% positive nobody's playing this.
Really? With a quarterback captain and Lamar Miller? Who are you playing in
With
that lineup?
$3,500 left?
Are you playing Randy Moss in that lineup, thinking he's going to come out of retirement? I mean, how could that lineup be unique?
No, I actually have Chris Carter in there.
Oh, you have Chris Carter. Oh, okay. He went back even further.
But I listen, man. It's got Foles. It's got Cook. It's got Robinson.
Wow, wow, how unique!
That's tell you all you need to know.
Right, how unique! Wow. Way to go. That doesn't sound unique.
Yeah, but those last two, which I won't name.
Okay.
That's where it gets unique.
Oh, that's the secret sauce that you're saving.
Yeah, that's the secret sauce. Come on, I mean, who's playing lineups with $3,500 left? And look, I do think the field. Let me say this: I do think the field is catching up to realize in Showdown, salary doesn't matter as much. Like, I think they're coming around. But as we talked about, pre-show, the average player is very concerned about seeing $3,500 left. So I would say 30% of the field is going to say, well, no, we can't do this. We can't do it. We have to fill it up. And so instead of them playing one of my other cheaper guys, they're going to go and play Darnell Mooney or Jimmy Graham or they're going to go all the way up to Justin Jefferson. Like that's what they're going to do in this lineup, guaranteed.
Well, that's kind of what I do also. I mean, yet for these large field contests, uniqueness matters. I mean, I know people. Oh, I don't mind splitting it 240 ways for $1,700. Like, dude, you're going for 100,000. You're going for like every time your lineup is duplicated, it's a massive hit in expected value. So like that's why I always use depending on the size of the contest, I go, can I get it within 15, 10? I mean, I want it to be as unique as possible, but at least I understand that most likely I'm not making lineups that are going to, I mean, I can make lineups that are solo, yes, but they're so, yeah, I'm leaving 30,000 on the table and playing all the backups. I mean, yes, it will be unique. It also will have almost a no shot at winning. But so if I keep it, like my showdown wins have always come within like 5 to 7, right? I won 150, but splitting $250,000 5 ways, that's a pretty good payday. Splitting it 240 ways for, $3,000. Like, I don't want to win those slates. I want to win the ones where we're only splitting it 5 ways. So if you don't want to split with me, if you want to have a unique lineup out there, hit that thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button on the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, just hit whoever you want, right? Hit whatever you want. It doesn't really matter on the YouTube page. And if you have any questions in the YouTube chat, feel free to post them. We see you guys in chat talking about it, but we're analyzing the slate, and I'm going back and forth. I don't think I've said any. Typically on these showdown slates, especially with me and you, I always say something that I'm going to do that's like crazy, that like no one's going to do. But have I really said anything? I'm not saying. Look, am I fading Dalvin Cook completely? No. Like I'm not. Like he just has the highest raw points floor that. He could have a snowflake and still be in the winning lineup. So
he could.
There are lineups you could make without Cook. I'm not going to tell you that there isn't. I'm not telling you you're an idiot for doing that. But I would be more inclined in lineups that don't have Cook for you to play a Vikings wide receiver as the captain. Right? Unless the Vikings fail.
That's the leverage.
Right. But the only way that doesn't work is if the Vikings fail. Like if the Bears just 21-3 over the Vikings, and like none of the Vikings get there. But if you believe that the Vikings will win this game, you don't want to play, you don't even believe that.
No. I think the Bears win by at least 10.
Really? The Vikings are a 3-point favorite.
I know.
So what? Everyone else is wrong?
I think Vegas is wrong on this one.
It's not Vegas. It's the betting market. It's not just that. That's not willy-nilly.
You know what I'm referencing.
Right,
I know it's more than Vegas. I know everybody's got their toe in the water, but I think the Bears run away with this one. And
they're not. They're going to run away with it. So Lamar Miller, 22 carries, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
No. I think Lamar Miller, 15 carries, 60 yards, and maybe no touchdown.
4 yards a carry with that Bears offensive line? Really?
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Miller, what's Lamar Miller's rushing prop right now?
Does he have one?
Like
let's see. I'm going to check. Okay, let's take a look at this.
He may not even have one, but if so, it's probably like 35-40.
No, there's no way it's that high. Are you kidding me? They don't even have a prop. Okay, here's the prop. Ryan Nall, 27.5. Cordell Patterson rushing yards, 22.5.
Not bad.
They don't have Cook is 91.5.
I guess they just brought him up because that makes sense for the markets to not try to take a stab at that. I just don't see how any of these guys have a massive share when they weren't playing before. But
does it matter, Chief? That's the point I'm making.
No. I don't have to have them. I think on DraftKings it matters more because Lamar Miller's $200.
Okay.
I think that's the caveat. On FanDuel, it doesn't matter at all. In fact, let's just segue into FanDuel because Ryan Nall, his ownership is even worse on FanDuel. You don't even want to know. We've got him projected at 44% at 10K. That just makes me queasy. I hit the X button immediately. What is that? I don't see how that makes any sense. I guess because he caught some passes in the last game. and perhaps they're anticipating him being a lot more involved. I mean, he had 4 catches for 35 yards and a touchdown when they were, playing against the Titans who were running away with it, and he had 0 carries. He had 0 carries in the game. I don't see how Ryan Nall leads this backfield. He's the first X button out of here. We do have a little bit more ownership on Kyle Rudolph on FanDuel at 20%, and that I still feel okay with it. Both of the kickers are around 20. Here's the big one. Dalvin Cook, we've got him projected at 66%, which I think is about right. And then we've got both quarterbacks projected under that. And Nick Foles is pretty much the lowest owned guy out of this big group. I mean, we've got him projected lower than Allen. No, he's a little bit over Allen Robinson. So, I mean, Foles is just my guy and captain today across the board. I'm rolling with Foles all the way through. And I don't even like him as a quarterback. I just think it's just his day against this Vikings defense. No, I talked a lot there. I set that up on a platter for you and then took it away and then gave the platter back. Blender, over to you, my friend.
I'm so scarred from playing David Montgomery and seeing him get nothing that I just like I look at the backfield and go, what am I doing to myself? Like now that share is split. Like I cared in the first place. So maybe it's more of an emotional thing with how many times can you play David Montgomery at like 5,500 for him to you watch the game.
David Montgomery. I've seen so many tweets and memes and GIFs about David Montgomery. I feel sorry
but sometimes it's not his fault. That Bears offensive line is horrible.
Well, but here's the other thing, though. I've seen David Montgomery in the game, and let's say he runs for like 2 or 3 yards, and then they throw Patterson in there, and Patterson busts out a 5 or 6 yard game. And
because they're not stacking the box. It's Cordell Patterson.
No, I know. And then they bring David Montgomery back in, and they hand the ball off to him on first down, and then he gets another like half a yard. And I'm thinking to myself, poor David Montgomery. The best thing that could have happened to him this year is probably being out because he was getting punished. He was getting punished. All right. There it is.
So if you got any questions, we got about 8 minutes left. The game's on at 8:15 Eastern. We're out of here at 7:45 Eastern. I still got to make my lineups. So I have to see the blitz projections have been updated. And they're not very kind to Lamar Miller. So, but he's 200.
Listen, that's the thing. 200. That's my only argument for Lamar Miller. He's $200. I think he gets 15 carries in this game. I could also be very, very, very wrong about this. But
JP Holtz is $200, Chief.
Great. He can stay there.
But he's $200. I'm trying to use your logic. But he's 200.
I'm saying in regards to people that we actually think will see the field.
Okay.
For an extensive period of time. Yeah, for an extensive period of time.
Yeah, you know what's going to happen? Artavis Pierce is going to have a 100-yard game. That's everyone's going to play Null or Miller, and then it's going to be Artavis Pierce that busts one out. But you figure if they haven't played Pierce all season with David Montgomery sucking, like how good can that's what I mean. You look at this and you go, well, how do you predict this? Like Montgomery was sucking and Null still barely got any work, and Pierce was never even active. So like Lamar Miller coming off the street, 2 years removed from an ACL tear.
Off the practice squad. Now
he had to come off the street to get on the practice squad.
What? Okay, so let's go. Look, this Lamar Miller thing is actually turning to be a lot more interesting than I thought. Hopefully, we don't have any questions. Here's my thing. I'm thinking back to Saquon Barkley, just getting injured at the beginning of the year, and it was so painful because you wanted Saquon to do well. And I'm sorry for you, buddy, man. Daniel Jones is now running 80 yards and tripping over his own feet. He ran another 30-yard against the Eagles again, might I add. I guess they just can't stop Daniel Jones. At any rate, I'm thinking back, and they started out with Wayne Gallman that game. And then they got Devontae Freeman, and he went on the practice squad. And then all of a sudden he was leading the backfield because he was probably the better running back out of the guys they had in the stable. And now, even though Wayne Gallman is scoring touchdowns, they've still got, Alfred Morris there, who didn't probably have as many carries yesterday as I would have assumed, but he started taking carries. In my head, Blender, and I'm probably just creating this as a figment of my imagination, but I don't think so. I think it's the same scenario. Lamar Miller walks off the practice squad and gets 15 carries, and voila, you end up in the same
15 carries for 40
as...
yards. Who cares? So he gets 40 yards. Way to go. That's the point that I'm making. It's like, I'm not arguing about who can get the splits. That isn't the issue. The issue is that you could be right and still not get enough points. So that's why I agree with you on Miller, because he's 200. I'd rather take a shot at Miller than at Null, because
that's my only thing.
6,200, he needs a touchdown. I mean, like, he needs double digits to be anywhere near Lamar Miller. If he gets 8 points at 200, he could be optimal. So, like, he could catch two. We saw him for the Texans catch 2 passes out of the backfield, right? Gets 40 yards, catches 2 passes for 20 yards, one of them a touchdown, right? And there you go. You're sitting there with what? You're sitting there with 14 points at 200. You're good. If Null got 14 points at 6,200, he may not even be optimal at 14 points.
Correct.
But also, don't be surprised if Lamar Miller comes off the practice squad and goes right into the front of the offensive line and gets like 0.8 yards a carry. So, like, don't be like, they give him the first series, they see how bad he is, and then he doesn't work again. People are asking about Cole Kmet. Why is he popular? Who's asking for Cole Kmet at captain? Don't play the cheap guys at captain. Get out of here.
Yeah, not at captain. I mean, if you're playing Cole Kmet, I mean, I think you're just doing it hoping that, he catches a 20, 30-yard touchdown, or maybe 2 catches and a touchdown. Pull up Mike Evans, 2 catches for 7 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think that's what you're hoping for with Cole Kmet. I'd much rather play Jimmy Graham, though. Speaking of which, I haven't talked a lot about Jimmy Graham, but I'm really on this passing game from Chicago. Like, I think, with the lack of running back play, listen, I like Lamar Miller because he's cheap on DraftKings. If you notice, I'm not mentioning him at all on FanDuel. I just because he's 200. But I really like this passing game. Like, I'm probably willing to play at least 3 pass catchers with Foles if it came down to it.
Well, obviously you're doing that when you're playing Foles at captain. I mean, that makes sense.
Correct. See, you see what I'm doing.
I see what
Blender.
you're doing. I'm just not doing it.
It's no secret.
I'm just not doing it.
And I think that's important to know too, Blender. Ironically, here's what people have to understand. We actually probably think just alike. We just do 2 different things every time.
Right. I understand your strategy. You're going with the Bears you're going with the Bears passing onslaught, and if you're going to do that, you might as well have Foles at captain and not A-Rob, so you could fit in Dalvin Cook there. It makes absolute sense. But I'm choosing to go for the Vikings win, and I'm playing more Vikings defense. I'm playing more Kyle Rudolph. I'm playing more 4 Vikings, Foles, and then a pass catcher. Foles plus Robinson.
Yes.
Foles plus Mooney. Foles plus Miller. Because I'm not playing the running backs, but I'm taking 4 Vikings. I'm taking Cook, Jefferson, and the captain, Vikings defense, and Dan Bailey or something. Doing something like that.
Yeah.
And that makes complete sense. But both strategies could be. It depends on what the outcome of the game is. As I always say on the shows that I'm on here on Rotogrinders, that you're not looking to predict outcomes. You're looking to build lineups based on an outcome. You're building your lineups based on a Bears passing game win. And I'm basing my outcome on a Vikings, low-scoring Vikings win where the Bears only score 1 touchdown. Foles puts up 250 yards and 2 interceptions. And I just need to find the pass catcher that gets his 1 touchdown. And that's it.
Yeah, I get it. I like it.
So I hope that this has been
Hey man,
what?
hey, hold on. Let me address Brian here. Brian, I am not being racist against a white running back, man. The running back for my favorite team is Christian McCaffrey. I've got his signed autographed football right here. I wish Christian McCaffrey was playing because, geez, Mike Davis sure isn't Christian McCaffrey. Let me tell you. So, yeah, Brian. Was that Brian? No, not Brian. Who was that?
No, Brian
Yeah, Brian.
Ellers.
Yeah, Brian, don't do me like that, man. That's not true. Not true at all.
I don't even know what Ryan Null looks like, so I couldn't even tell you. The helmets are on. I don't know what these people look like. Most of the time, I don't even know.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so we're gonna build our lineups now. Hopefully, you've 30 minutes until lock for a Monday night football. Vikings versus Bears. As I always say, Chief, if I'm gonna duplicate and split first with anyone, I hope it's you. I'd rather not split.
Yeah,
I'd rather be solo first. But if I could choose, it'll be with you. And if we have to add any more people, at least as long as it's under 15. If it's under 15, let's add 13 people from the chat. I'll at 13 people from the YouTube chat. I'm fine with it. Let's split it 15 ways. And if obviously there's more people in the 13 people in the YouTube chat, so you fight amongst yourselves. Hit that thumbs up button. The more people that hit the thumbs up button, the more likely you could split with me and Chief tonight.
Sounds good.
On DraftKings.
Sounds good.
So this has been Monday Showdown Live on Rotogrinders.com.